next speaker is Krisha. She's all the way from London, and she's working within a construction industry. Again, a male-dominant industry. Her most recent publication was inspired by the difficulties she faced moving from one profession to another, including stereotype and gender inequality. She's here today to share her experiences and how we can start breaking down those barriers. She's known for her positivity and motivational attitude toward problem solving, her dynamic network, and her compassionate nature to help others. Please welcome Krisha.
Anyone in the room, can you raise your hand if you ever lacked confidence in something? Right. So if you look around, all of you at one point have lacked confidence. And my whole childhood was based on that. I had no confidence whatsoever. I was subject to bullying. And obviously it didn't occur at home. I had very loving parents. But the bullying occurred at school for most of my school life. And it extended through beatings as well. So my parents didn't know that I was being beaten, and until the point that I was hospitalized, and they then found out that I was being beaten. It didn't stop at school. I was actually being beaten by the childminder as well. And it took me a while to tell my parents, because me as the oldest child, I was trying to protect my younger brother and my younger sister. So I took the beatings for them. And it was a difficult point in my life. And it obviously knocked my confidence, and it's knocked my self-esteem, taking all of that. And as I grew up, I didn't really know myself as a person. I didn't really know what I wanted to achieve. And I took advice from my parents. They said to me that you should go into accounting. So I ended up going into accounting. I had a good career within accounting, and I progressed from one job to another job, and I always progressed. And then I got to a point where, you know, when you hit a glass roof, and you try and you keep trying, and you're being ambitious, and you want to keep going, pass your exams, and you were not getting promoted. So there was a point where I wasn't getting promoted within the industry that I wanted to. And even though I was good at my job, I was very good at what I was doing. And I don't know, you know, you end up saying, like Heidi said before, when you get good at something, what men tend to do, they're like, oh yeah, she can do it, you know, we can give her a bit more. So at the time I was working in a construction company in the accounts department, and when I was working there, I was managing 4 companies. So I was managing civil engineering companies and doing the accounts for them and everything. And it just so happened that 3 people had left in treasury, right? And I ended up, the director came to me, the group financial controller, and he said to me, at the time, it's a small independent company, privately owned, but the turnover was about $500 million. And I had to manage 52 companies and do all the treasury and the payment on top of my original job. And it was too much. So my 45 hours a week turned into an 80-hour week, including weekends. And I was suffering one thing, because I didn't have a life. I put everything, because I was so ambitious, into my career. And I wanted, at one point, I was questioning myself. And I realized, why am I actually doing this? Why am I working so hard and I'm not progressing? But I didn't feel like I was achieving anything or helping anyone. And I think it's from a personal view as well. I like to see like I have a purpose, and I had lost that purpose in the job. And my parents, me being the eldest, I was helping them pay the household bills. And I said to them, should I stay? And they said, we need the help, so you need to stay in that job. I ended up staying in that job a year longer than I wanted, and my mental health went downhill. So I ended up getting severe depression, and at the time I was seeing, my partner at the time, I was seeing a person in the same company, and that didn't go too well. So that didn't help my mental health either. I had to report him to the police for harassment. So on top of me being diagnosed, I was diagnosed as having severe depression. I had severe anxiety. I had post-traumatic stress. And I started to get suicidal thoughts as well because of the pressure of everything. And as I split from this person I was with, he wasn't making it easy. He used to come to the house and used to, tell my parents and make it really hard for me. Come and find me at work and beg at the floor in front of my boss and just make my life basically difficult. And it was a turning point for me where I realized I needed some help. I shouldn't be feeling these thoughts of ending my life because of this emotional pain. And it was literally all the emotional pain that I had, and I couldn't deal with it, and I felt like I should end my life and then all of the pain will go. And I didn't act on it at the time. I have done previously, but I decided to refer myself to get some help, and I ended up referring myself to get some help. And I went through a lot of therapy. I went through CBT counselling, I went through shamanic healers, I went through Reiki specialists, I went through whatever I could to try and get myself out of this position. And in my previous position, when I was working, I was also doing accountancy clients as well. So I have my own company doing accounts and consultancy. So working 80 hours a week and trying to run your own company is very hard. So it's quite difficult. So the one client that I had was actually a contractor, and when I chose to leave my position, he invited me to come and work with him as he expanded. So that's how I got introduced to construction. Otherwise, before, I wouldn't have even thought about it. So it took me a while to look at myself, and I had to really sit and assess my strengths and weaknesses, and I fit into that role. And I realized when I was doing accounting, it never fit to my strengths. It actually fit to my weaknesses, and I got myself in a mental state of it didn't really work for me. And when I went to work in construction, I then found I had a passion for problem solving, and I had a passion for problem solving and seeing something built from start to finish. And that really helped me to kind of progress within construction. So I started initially as a site supervisor, chasing the guys around on site, making sure they've got helmets and everything. And they're just not having it. Obviously, they're like, why are you here? You don't have any qualifications. And I'm like, shut up, otherwise I report you to health and safety. But so you had to kind of coax them, because most of the men in construction are in their late 40s, so they think they know it all. And they don't necessarily pay attention to their health and safety. So I started that in construction, and then from there, I was promoted to be a project manager, so I manage 5 construction sites at the moment. So I do that, and then I also, because of what I went through, I decided to do a mental health first aider course, just to help, because guys don't really talk about how they feel, especially when it comes to construction. There's a lot of issues when they don't talk about, they have issues with their wife or something, and they take it out on work, or they come to work having alcohol issues. And, in construction, you can't really afford that. They can lose a limb, they can lose a life. You can chop your finger off or something. So, yeah, being in construction kind of brought out a new side to me, where I had to own my own strengths. I had to figure out my strengths and kind of be like, no, this is what I have to do. And no, you have to listen to me. and kind of put your foot down. And before I was a bit of a people pleaser. So I think I had to change to be the person that I should be, to be a bit more powerful and a bit more confident within myself. And I think that's the key to actually being powerful within any male industry. You have to be able to own your own weaknesses and your strengths and everything that comes with it. You have to be able to say, I love myself, I believe in myself, even though I'm not perfect. I'm not 100% right, I'm not 100% wrong. Sometimes you have to have that faith in yourself, blind faith, which men often have, and sometimes that's just ego. But I want you to all turn to the person next to you, give them a high five and say, you are powerful. You are powerful. Because in the end, you are all powerful, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, even if it is a male industry or if you're just in your own industry, you are powerful, your voice does matter, and you can make a difference to someone else's life as well. Thank you.